If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
And we welcome John Allen, candidate for Revenue Commissioner in the Talladega County Republican primary coming up on March 3rd. And John, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
Good to have you with us on this rainy, you get kind of waterlogged after a while, don't you?
Well, I appreciate you having me, and we've been sitting here, rain's a curse and a blessing. During the summer, we, with all the cows and everything, we needed boatloads of rain for hay. But now we're having to feed hay out of a boat with all the cows and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Noah's Ark too.
That's true.
John, for people who do not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, background in the Revenue Office in Talladega.
Well, my name's John Allen, obviously, and I went to the University of Montevallo, graduated there, and worked since 2006 for the Revenue Department. And in February of 2018, Kay Ivey's office appointed me as Revenue Commissioner to that office. And what we've been doing is we've just been going through and going off what the state examiners and auditors recommend to change different little things in the office to have it up to par to their standards, and we've been going from there.
To say that office has drawn the spotlight and had quite a bit of controversy would be an understatement. Can you share anything about this at all?
There's certain aspects that I can share. I can't go into great detail about a lot of it, but some of those aspects are, as far as what I done is when I first got there, I called the state auditors and examiners, and I'll say that what I'd done is we took the audit that had just ended when I'd gotten there, and we identified everything that was wrong. And these are problems that had been going on in the county, and it's nothing, a lot of them were small, but there were some that were more major, and we just went down the line of how do we correct these, and we're going with that. That's what we had done. I know some of the controversy right now that was out there, it had to do with, not sending remittances or this or that. There's a lot of different aspects that go into it with different things, such as new computer vendors. But one of the biggest things is there were anomalies within my system. There were outside sources getting into my system, getting in my vault room, and obtaining some other records that are taxpayer documents that don't need to be in. As far as all that, that's one of the things where I felt uncomfortable. And after contacting the examiner's office, I made the decision, no one on my staff or anyone else, I myself made that decision to hold that until I could verify the funds. I don't want to send out unverified funds. And that's where a lot of the controversy and, I think a lot of it's been blown out.
So it wasn't a matter of John Allen showing the Talladega County.
No. I know it's been said that I was quoted as making a threat. No, what I was actually saying that day at the commission office would basically be the equivalent of if whoever owns this station comes in here and they fire you and all the cameramen and there's no one left to do the job, and then shows up the next morning and wonders why there's not a show. If you get rid of all the people that do the job, then we can't do it. And with our office, we want things documented and, documentation and just buried in paperwork, because that's what the auditors love. They love this. And I've brought them into my office 4 or 5 times, even things that they didn't necessarily, that was minute to them, but we had documented and have it there. And that's where that threat, where they said it was a threat, that's where that comes from. It wasn't a threat. It was basically, we'll fire everybody that does these jobs, and there's nobody that can do them. Yeah. That is where that came from. John
Allen, candidate for Revenue Commissioner in the March 3rd Republican primary, I guess, for a few more minutes this morning. How has this affected you? It's got to affect you some. I mean, that's been the talk for the last several months.
It does. Within my house and within, a certain circle of friends and workers and everybody up there, it seems like that's the only thing on earth. But, you know,
It's not.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. You know, when I get home, we got a child, and he's to me the most beautiful youngin' in the world. And when you come home and you're able to let all this go, you're able to just sit back and do things like watch him and watch him think and do this and that. It's hard to not let this stuff affect you, and it's hard not to let it affect you personally. But that's one thing that you signed up for, is taking these jobs, and not just this one, but any place where you're in the public spotlight. That's just something that you sign up for. Now, I don't openly welcome it and wish it upon myself, but it has been tough. But it's, you know, there's a lot of things that are, you know, not brought to light yet, and those things that I know give me reassurance to keep going on, but also too with different people, not just, you know, around my community, my neighbor or anyone else or my grandmother, but different people around the county that call you up or stop you at a store or tell you this, and, you know, they're the ones that give you that drive to keep going, and that, you know, I guess just the drive to keep going. And it has, but, you know, there's a lot of stuff, and it's like, I guess, to quote Coach Saban, there's a lot of stuff that I feel is rat poison that, you know, it's going to be straightened out and it's going to be squared away.
When did you decide to run for re-election?
When I decided, it was, I reckon it was probably about a year or so ago.
So well before any of this.
Yes, it was well before that. And I just said, well, I like this. I felt like the office was going a good way. We had, you know, a lot of the things that we're required to file by law to the Department of Revenue and to the Comptroller's office, you know, we were hitting those marks, getting them on time, doing all this and that. And there's a lot of stuff, like with our tax sale, you know, the numbers had been ticking up, you know, to high numbers, you know, over 1,200 going on the day of the tax sale. This past year, my staff, especially on the property side, I mean, hats off to them. They brought it down to under 500, and you know that's really just a credit to every one of them. They worked hard.
Talk about the real climate that you had with your employees.
My employees, you know, when I first got there, I went from being an employee, from, you know, and I'd noticed this, that it seemed like overnight I was outcast, for, you know, and you know, there was a part of me saying, oh, guys, I'm still the same me. You know, I've known you for 12 years. Right. And that was one thing that was extremely tough. But as time goes on, you know, you can see how each employee wants to work and how they do what they do. And after a couple of months of being in there, I'd got to noticing, well, you know, how about I just sit down with each of them and ask them, like, hey, what would make your job easier? Why, you know, and there was a lot of questions of, well, we've never understood why we do this, or this. And I said, well, I thought that y'all done that because that was y'all's process and y'all had it refined. And they're like,
communication world, isn't it?
Basically. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff that they changed, and, you know, like I said, it's paid off where the actual atmosphere inside the office, and, you know, has been a lot better. And, you know, and it's hard because you got to think, in an office job, not just at our office, but other offices, the person you work with, you're with them as much as you are your family. So it's hard not to get along. But, you know, just like any other family, there's going to be little squabbles and little knick-knack stuff every day. And, you know, that's just part of it. But I will say that some of the staff has developed better friendships and have actually gotten closer to each other, and they actually work and try to help each other, and they got out of this, you know, not that they had it bad, but that was one thing that I did not want, you know, is running it. I didn't want well, I'm just here till 5, let me do this. And one thing that I'd ask them is saying, hey, if somebody comes in here, they're in here because they need help. If they ask you where the best donuts are in town, tell them what you think. I mean, tell them this. If they ask you for the road, we get a lot of calls. Like right now, I'm sure there are going to be calls today that somebody's ditch is flooding, you know, and instead of just passing them off or saying not my department and hanging up, try to get them in touch with somebody. That's it. And that's one thing that they've done. And hats off to all of the employees for that.
John Allen is our guest this morning. John, candidate for Revenue Commissioner in the Talladega County Republican primary on March 3rd, and it's just about time, just a couple of weeks away. And look right here in this camera and tell people, John Allen, why they should vote for you in the March 3rd Republican primary.
I would like everyone to know that I am dedicated to my job, and the things that I do in my office, we're trying to follow what the examiner's office or the state auditors give to us and recommend to us to do. But we are dedicated and we want to serve the public, and that's one of our main goals is to serve you better.
All right. John, thanks for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Honor to meet you and
too.
have you with us on the show this morning. John Allen, candidate for Revenue Commissioner in the Talladega County Republican primary on March 3rd. We'll be back with more Daybreak.